what is the market size of the dark chocolate industry in India? And if this question was given to me, I have absolutely zero idea about the number of chocolate manufacturers there are. I have no idea how popular dark chocolate is, and I actually have no idea how many people in the country want to have chocolate or dark chocolate in the first place. So how do I go about approaching the problem? Now, the idea here is that whenever this particular question is asked, you have to understand that no one is really, for example, you might have read it in the newspapers the previous day and you can say, hey, it's a 230 million industry in the country. And the purpose of the exercise is absolutely not that. They do not want to know the absolute number. They just want you to arrive there using a particular approach, which is scientific, which can be broken down and basically can be validated by anyone. So it has to be very transparent in terms of how you're going there and not where you're going, right? So if I have to start off and talk about this particular problem, what is the market size of the dark chocolate industry in the country? I'll give an approach, and this is the approach that we used across any problem that you face. Ideally, should be solved using this problem. The approach is called the umbrella, followed by segmentation, assumption, and then consolidation. Now, how this essentially works is that the first thing is that, okay, what is the market size of the dark chocolate industry in the country? When I say an umbrella, the umbrella is nothing but you're trying to define the universe on which your problem will be resolved. So for example, here it clearly says dark chocolate market in the country, in India. So my universe is nothing but the population of the country. But even before you go there, the first question is always demand and supply, right? When I say market size, I can look at it from two ways. One, what is the maximum production that the chocolate manufacturers can make, or what is the maximum demand that's generated in the market? Now, a safe bet to always take whenever it comes to solving estimates is that always take it from a demand side of the story and not the supply side. And you can obviously bounce it off the interviewer as well, saying, hey, I'm assuming that the supply is not a constraint in this regard, so I'm going to approach it from a demand side, that there are so many people and this is the demand that comes in from the market, right? So that's the umbrella. You first clarify whether you're going for it from the supply side or the demand side, and here I would again strongly suggest that you definitely use the supply, that to use the demand side to go ahead and solve it. And second, you define the universe. For this particular case, the universe itself will nothing be but the population of the country. Next is segmentation. Great, you have the population of the country, but how do you divide it further, right? Because different people in different age brackets, different economic strata will have a different preference or percentage preference to anything and not just dark chocolate. So the second thing that you do is you have defined the umbrella. Now you come to segmentation. Here you can divide it on the basis of their age, on the basis of the gender, the income levels, location, rural or urban, and ultimately you come to a preference of a brand or a product. Because even if you have done all the segmentation, you don't ultimately know whether or not everyone is interested in chocolate and subsequently in dark chocolate. So you have defined the complete set, and then you have segmented people in the sense that after you've made the segmentation, people are going to have a different percentage of inclination towards trying a product. After everything is done, you come to assumption. I've made segmentation, now I come to assumption. Assumption is nothing but the percentages, right? When I say that, I want to make a rural urban divide, I have to assign percentages to it. A 1.3 population, 1.3 billion is the population of the country. And in that I say, okay, 30% of my population stays in the cities, which is the urban population, and the balance 70% stays in the villages, which is the rural population. So it's very important that you clear this off at the very onset, that, okay, this is my divide and these are the percentages that I'm going with. Second, you need to have absolute numbers, right? So this is where the population or the total absolute number comes in. So when you are trying to find out what is the urban population of the country, it's nothing but 30% into 1.3 billion, because I've already defined what the total number is. Third is the time period. When people say what is the market size, it's very easy for us to just assume that market size is what is the total demand, and we just calculate it without really giving enough thought process to understanding what is the timeline that they're referring to. It's very important that you ask them at the very onset that what is the timeline that you want me to consider? Is it a year? Because the number of people who might consume dark chocolate over a period of 1 year would be very different than the number of times. For example, they might consume it once, they might consume it 3 times in a month, which eventually means they're consuming it 36 times in a year. Oftentimes we see that we have done all the hard work and ultimately we forget to multiply with this conversion factor because we have not clearly defined the time period that you're looking at. So it's very important that we ask the interviewer at the very onset, what is the time period that you want me to consider? And the next point is very, very, very important, which is what is market size, right? When someone asks market size, one thinks, okay, I think they want me to calculate the volume or the quantity. But the market size can also be the revenue. The market size can be the dollar value that comes out of it. So this is also something that the interviewer would expect you to ask at the very onset, that you can clarify, "See, sir, ma'am, when you say market size, what is it that you want me to calculate? Do you want me to calculate the volume, the total quantity that the market can absorb, or what is the money that the company would be making out of it?" And after you have already broken it down from the umbrella to the segmentation and you have sort of narrowed down on your assumption, the consolidation is nothing but you sum it all up. Okay, urban, 20% of them are going to have chocolate, rural, 10% of them are going to have chocolate, income, everything. So you have a set of numbers sort of put in different brackets. Consolidation is nothing but where you bring it all back together and you ultimately do a sense check of whether or not it makes sense. Because for example, maybe you're getting a number which is in billions and you might want to reconsider your assumption, saying, okay, maybe I said 20% of the urban population are going to have it, but maybe it's lower, maybe it's only 5%, it's only 2% for the rural setting. It's absolutely not wrong, because you have no way of knowing whether 20% of the people have chocolate or 5% of the people have chocolate. But if the ultimate number that comes up to seems obnoxious to you, then it's always fine and it's always fair and no one's going to judge you for it if you want to go back and reset your assumption.